This episode of Beer and Bulges is brought to you by Bloodline, Blood Orange Ale from Flying Dog Brewery here in Frederick, Maryland. So tasty. Hey kiddies, we're going to paint some scenery in a little bit less than no time. This is the broken Aquilus from the Honored Imperium set. And as you guys can see, I've just spray painted it black. Actually, not very long ago. This probably should cure a little bit longer. All right, so we're going to pick out a couple colors off the bat. And we're just going to be doing some different techniques. So I got some Deheb Stone. I don't know what it's called now, but it's the bone color. We got some Dawn Stone, and we'll get some creamy brown in there. Let's see, what else are we going to use? This Kislev Flesh. That'll go well. Just trust me, it's going to look awesome. And we're going to need some other type of Adeptus Battle Gray. That'll work. And then last but not least, I probably want a darker, like a Codex Gray or something like that. It didn't really make any more, but it's all right. We're going to do with this Deheb Stone. So what we want to do is we want to show some different contrasting colors between the actual symbol here and the earth around it. Also, I do want it to be kind of neutral, so if I put this on a snow base, or if I put this on a grass base, or if I put this in a city base, it's kind of going to have the same feelings. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of this brown. And the great thing about this is dry brushing very fast, especially if you have a big old tank brush, which I don't think they make anymore. And you know what? If you don't like it, it's pretty easy to fix. And that's what we're going to show you here. Just getting some terrain squared away. Do a little of experimenting. We're going to come in here and just hit those areas really high. Because I want the earth color underneath to be a little bit different. We're going to wash it as well, but you know what? We're just going to see what we got with this. Definitely get into those cracks and some of those areas there. And if you slop it around a little bit, don't worry about it. It can be fixed. You guys can see in a matter of no time, we are done that first coat. All right, that'll work. So actually, normally I would go to the next color that I want to choose and not even really change the paint that's already on there. Just going to mute it down a little bit. And this time I'm just going to hit certain areas. Don't worry, I'm going to brown wash the crap out of this stuff. All right. It's very skin tone-esque, but you know, I kind of want it kind of sandy, as I had some kind of platform established underneath this when they made it before it got all blown to crap. All right. Get some of that stone color. The one thing you want to do is get any water out of your brush when you're dry brushing. A wet brush and dry brushing, they don't work this well together, as one may think. All right. So this I'm going to be kind of heavy-handed. And again, if you go over anything, it's all right. Doesn't give us the look that we're trying to achieve. And remember, we're trying to do this in record time. All right. So that looks pretty good. Little contrast there, no big deal. All right. So then I'm going to move to a, where's that null oil? There we are. I'm going to null oil this whole thing. This stuff, I'm going to tell you, man, I use this stuff in droves. Get it on there nice and thick. Don't be scared. Now the important thing with this is patience. We do need to let this dry. If you get it too thick, it's going to do some funny things when it dries. Get kind of shiny. We don't want it to be too crazy. And even right now, it looks pretty cool. Remember, you know, for a battle scene, you guys ever been to a real battle scene? Everything is like kind of the same color because all the dust settles and it kind of mutes everything. So whatever the prominent material, it's that color. All right, so it looks pretty good. Notice I had this on a piece of glass so I can wipe away whatever. So that's done for right now. Already starting to look pretty cool. We're gonna let that guy dry and then we're gonna go on to the next part. We'll be right back. All right, gang, so we got about 30 minutes or so that this has been drying. Got the nice dark looking recesses. And of course we have this kind of, you know, dirty, filthy look that the wash has kind of caked on there. You guys can see that in light. I love that look. But we do need to come back in here and hit this with some lighter stuff to really bring that out. And we're gonna hit this with another level of the Dawnstone, and then Adeptus Battle Gray. I forget what that's called nowadays. All these color changes. I mean, you know, I'm old school. So we'll let this dry. We still have some moisture there, and I want to show you guys. So you get these areas where things bubble up. I've kind of come back in here and soaked it up here, but you can see how you lose a little bit. But I'll just focus on that when we go back with the lighter color, and then we're going to hit it with some highlights of some white or something like that, just to top it off. But very happy with it thus far, and of course the final touch will be going here and hitting these individual skulls with a bone color, washing them and hitting them with a white highlight. So we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back once this bad boy dries. All right, gang, we got it all nice and dry, and you can see a little bit different in the colors now. You can see this more of a yellow, and we have the darker gray there. So we're going to make this the stone kind of pop. We're going to do another dry brush with the Dawnstone. This time I'll probably just use a regular small flat dry brush. And I'm going to focus more on the edges. Like so. I don't want to get rid of that the really dark recesses. They look pretty good. This also gives you a chance to kind of tighten up some of these areas if the colors kind of bled into one another. The problem with dry brushing is you can waste a lot of paint. Well, I should say use, not necessarily wasting it. So you guys can see I'm kind of making my strokes go against that edge. All right, so that's pretty good. The next thing I want to do is I do want a lighter highlight. I'm going to use some of this Adeptus Battle Gray, I don't know what the color is nowadays. It's one of the foundation, but I'm gonna leave the paint that I already have in there to kind of tone it down a little bit. This is a little too light. And this is kind of like the dangerous part, because you could add, you know, you can make it too bright and then it's not gonna look as clean. And we're gonna try to be very careful. Now you could do a thin line on this. Of course, the whole point of this video is kind of painting terrain pretty quickly. And we're gonna do some other effects too here in a few to kind of tighten this whole package up. So if you get a little crazy, that's all right. Not gonna be a huge issue. And to tell you the truth, I'll probably need less paint for this kind of highlight as well. Now, one problem you can have if you do too much dry brushing, you get this kind of dusty look. You can always try to throw another wash on top of it to kind of blend it. You just got to be careful, because if the wash is too dark, you're going to lose the whole purpose. So just, you know, be careful with that. Sometimes it doesn't look bad. Sometimes it can really distract from the detail. So there we have it. Looking pretty good. Now you could even go in there and throw some lighter colors on the edges if you wanted to. Looks pretty good to me. All right, so here's one of the issues with this. So now we have this gray, kind of dirty white stone. We can imagine at one point it was probably bright white, and we've, you know, over the years it's gotten more and more dull. But we do have these different rocks in here, so we can go for a different color with them, maybe a darker type of granite or something. That way there's some more contrasting in the color, but at the same time, you know, we don't want to make it too much. So I'm probably gonna leave those as is. I'm gonna go back in and hit some of these skulls. That way I can have some bright contrasting colors, but at the same time, I don't want to overdo it. So we're just gonna grab this old school brush, get some of this dehab stone, which I'm kind of running out of. You guys can see it's getting pretty dry. So we're gonna come in here and actually just kind of almost dry brush these skulls. We're not gonna focus that much on them, because the final step here, I'm actually gonna add some effects. So there'll probably be some rust and some dirt and yada, yada, yada. But you guys can see just that little bit is gonna, you know, make it pop a little bit. So one thing there's never a short supply of in the world of Warhammer 40K, and that's freaking skulls everywhere. The one problem I'll say with doing something like this, you might miss one after you're done painting it, and every time you look at it, it's gonna drive you crazy till you go back and get that guy done. Again, now you gotta work out your how much time you want to focus on each of these little guys. I wouldn't get down there too nitty gritty, because, you know, they're gonna be dirty. There's not gonna be that much bone showing through. And when we go back to highlight these guys, probably just gonna do a lighter dry brush after we wash them. That'll probably be it. We're not gonna get super crazy with these skulls. And that's your choice, again. So I think I got them all. Let me just do a quick survey. That looks about it. I don't see any other skulls hidden, but you guys can see that's gonna make a little bit of a pop. So now while we're letting that dry, I want to do some different things with this gravel. Give it a more sandy quality. So I'm gonna come in here and I might do a little Gretchen green on there. maybe some vomit brown. So I don't want to get anything too crazy. Get the green to be shaken up. Used to throw little ball bearings in here. See, that's pretty thick. It's kind of nasty, but you know what? It's going to serve our purpose. Yes, let's see, that's just going to add a little bit of different color. Is it mold? Is it moss growing on that? We don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just gonna look a little bit different. Throw some on this stuff. And you know, just a dab will do you. You don't need to go crazy with it. I would stick more to the small kind of gravel stuff. And that'll give us a good base to throw something a little bit more yellow on there. Give it a kind of sandy quality. You know, a lot of guys I see don't really spend that much time on their scenery. I think that's a mistake. And you know, guys, painting is therapy for me. You know, I've got some pretty stressful jobs, and you know, life can be stressful in general. So a good way to relax, it's like I always explain to people, it's like a samurai and their bonsai trees, you know. So we're gonna go with this vomit brown. It's a little bit too fleshy. We already had kind of some fleshy colors. We'll see how that works out. We might dull it down with it's a little bit darker. Whenever you're kind of experimenting, just go a little bit, be cautious with it. Well, that's working. It's kind of tying it in how I wanted it to. And just be careful around your stuff that you already worked on. I got a couple buddies that do airbrushing. They'll knock this out even faster. But I just really like the look that the black, you know, base coat does. It allows you to kind of get in there fast and dirty. Maybe I'll do these stones like more of like a limestone type look. All right. So the little green and yellow you guys see is definitely adding some good contrast on there. And also I think it's going to be good when I go to put it on different tabletops, whether it be a grassland, whether it be a snow base, or a street. It's going to look good in some different settings. All right, so now that the bone is dry, we're going to hit that with some Earthshade or Sepia Wash, or you know, whatever. This Ardjack's Earthshade does a pretty good job. And yeah, don't be scared to slap it on there, guys. Remember, these are rotted, bleached by the sun skulls. And the important thing about any of these washes or glazes or whatever, you just got to give it time to let it dry. All right, that looks good. So, it's looking good. I'm not quite happy with some of these larger stones. They look kind of crappy. So, let's see. We can use like an old school Space Wolf gray. Maybe do kind of a limestone look. I don't want to get too sophisticated with this this color scheme. So let's play around with some of this. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna do a little experimenting, guys. So I'm gonna find an isolated rock over here, like this one right here. Not really happy with the yellow and green on that one. So I'm gonna come in here and just hit it with this old school Space Wolf gray. This might be rust gray nowadays. I don't even know if they have this color anymore. you can see it's kind of watery. It's all right, we're gonna hit it with a wash. We'll let that dry. That'll be our experiment. Okay, we're gonna go in here with some of this dehab stone. And I'm just gonna pick out some isolated rocks here. Again, oopsie. Just to make this thing come together a little bit more. Just do a couple small grouping of similar rocks. You want that? I wouldn't get too close to the skulls because they're, you know, similar colors. It's gonna, might be a little too much. All right. I'm gonna throw the Arjax Earthshade on this thing over here and see how that looks. Give that time to dry. All right, now that we have the skulls, come in here with just some white, and you know, let's take a normal brush. It's kind of like a semi-dry brush. We're just gonna come over here and hit some high points. Some of them are still wet, so. Just so I can show you guys what it might look like if we hit some highlights on the stone right here. And again, I wouldn't do too many like this, but a little would hurt. Especially on some of the corners. It's one problem that I always have. It's when is it too much and when is it not enough? So I'll start off like, oh, we'll add a little bit, and then before I know it, I've added it everywhere. And then it gets kind of, it can be a little cartoony looking sometimes. Instead of that lovely balance of grim dark that we're all looking for. That's not bad. Now you can go really crazy with this and actually maybe do like a lava, it coming up here and burning, and then you can add like little highlights to all these different cracks like it's coming through. That would look awesome. That would look awesome. I'll do it. A little subtle, some subtle highlights is what I'm going for. All right, so I'm looking at this, and I'll probably do another highlight on this of white. So that'll be good for the gray. I think that's where I want it. As you can see, the wash still isn't dry yet, but I can already kind of feel that I'm gonna like it. So I'm kind of finding some other stones, larger stones in here that I'll probably do that same style. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start hitting those guys up. It's very interesting. I come from a generation of scratch-built terrain. You know, anytime any appliance or any kind of package, you know, everybody would keep the styrofoam for me, so I had, you know, materials to make my terrain back in the day. And it's just funny now how the terrain that GW is making is very engrossing. Maybe this big one over here. You know, there's so much imagery from a lot of this stuff that just ties everything together. It gives a very realistic cinematic feel. And I've you know, still got a lot of my scratch-built terrain. Every once in a while, for nostalgia purposes, I'll pull some of it out and be able to go, oh, that's sweet, man. And I got terrain in there that's probably a good 20 years old, probably 25 years old. And for the most part hasn't fallen apart yet. As you guys can see, at any part of this project, you could say, all right, I'm good, I'm quitting there. You don't have to add all the extras and stuff like that, and I don't think anybody would fault you for that. I feel like I need something over here. Maybe this guy. And you'd be good. And then also, it's one of those things where if I stopped right now, I think everybody would be pretty happy with this piece of terrain when we had our next game day. But at the same time, I could pick it back up and add some more detail. It's all about how creative you want to be. So I think that balances out pretty well. You don't want it to be too symmetrical. That'll kind of bug you. You know, it's like when you're painting, you know, a vase of flowers, you want it to be an odd number, and you don't want it to be symmetrical. So you have two leaning right and one leaning left, and vice versa. All right, looks pretty clean. Coming back to this one. So I'm gonna hit that with some white. See, this is one problem when you're dry brushing, is you really got to wash out your brush, and I probably need to wash out my water because I'm getting some yellow in my white. I even know some people who, you know, have specific brushes for specific materials. My paper towels get a little damp. All right, so what we're gonna do is make sure you get all the moisture out, and you guys can see some pigment that's in there even when I wash this brush. So get all that pigment out. Try this again. So this we do need to be careful with. Probably a smaller dry brush would do for most people, but you guys get the picture. I want it to still look dirty, but like that was a bright colored stone. All right, so we're looking pretty good on that one. All right, so the rest of these are dry. From the paint, I'm going to throw on, except that one. That one's a little damp. I'm going to throw on the wash, and we'll be right back. Now, guys, here's some other ones that I've done before, and this was for a store I used to do the Games Workshop stuff for, and you know, very simple painting. I mean, spray painted this black, had some silvers that we dry brushed over, added some worn out red. It's kind of a metallic look, like the color's been stripped away. And then the earth around is very ambiguous. There's some snow there, that's some contrast. We do have like a red earth. There is some like grass flecks in here from some static grass. And it looks good if it's on a city block, if it's on a tundra, if it's on a grass plain mat. We use a lot of the fat mats here, and it just works very well. Let me show you another one. This one as well. You know, and just adding a couple colors in there to brighten it up. You know, make your little details like this, some brighter red right there, and you know, this was done very quickly. But you know, the effects are good. Now you can take time on here and really highlight some stuff. I don't like that. I've seen some beautiful scenery out there, and some guys do lighting effect on the scenery and everything too, and it's wonderful. But you can always go back and add more to it. You know, one thing that I did here is add some shiny bits to the studs. So those are really shiny, you know, grabbing the eye and everything. And then I always add a couple of terrain effects. And this thing is pretty old. This is from, I think, the 4th edition box set. So a lot of the stuff is worn. You can see there's some rocks and grass in there. But it works really well, and it'll still, you know, be similar enough to this look that it can tie into the same board. Same thing with the moonscape craters. You know, just picking out a couple of stone neutral colors. I added some extra texture in here with some glue before I painted it, and then added some texture to the outer ring as well, some sand there just to bring it in together. And this looks good. It can be in a city block. It could be, you know, again, snow, grass, whatever. It's got that very burnt earth look. You don't really know if we're looking at stone, if we're looking at, you know, scorched earth, because burnt earth can have a look at that as well. So it looks better than that gray plastic. Nobody wants to see that crap. For example, this piece right here, again, had just a khaki spray, went in here with some metallic, used a lot of the null oil, some different layers to get it this darkened, aged look. And you guys can see we have some rust pattern stuff there that we added to it, a couple little dry brushes here and there, and it kind of ties it all in. This inside of it hasn't finished yet, but you know, from afar it looks like a pretty nice piece of terrain. We had some red highlights here just to make it pop, and as you guys can see, also went here and hit all of these studs with some metallic paint just to give it some more contrast. Pretty cool. I've seen some guys use some lighting effects, cast it off of that. It looks really good as well. So very simple, not much to do. I like some of the Forge World effects, like the dust and the rust and everything. It looks pretty good. All right, guys, so I couldn't leave well enough alone. I added a little bit more of the white highlight on the eagle, and I added some different colored stones there, give a little more of like a terracotta type look, maybe some clay. And I'm probably gonna leave those kind of dark, just leave the wash on there. I was gonna highlight them a little bit, but let's look how, I wanna see how this looks on some different terrain pieces. We'll be right back. So this is the snow fat mat. Looks awesome. Looks like it could be there. You can see how we have good similarities in colors between here and here. So that would work perfect. Look like doesn't contrast too much with the background where it feels like it doesn't belong. You know, even if I added some snow, a couple patches of snow right there, it even pulled in even more. Very nice. Okay, here we have it in a cityscape. This is urban 2. Looks perfect. The terracotta is actually gonna pull it in together a little bit more with some of the reds out here. That looks perfect. Even if we brought it out into the street, it looks like it matches the sidewalk. So very cool in that, pretty happy. Here's the other cityscape, a little bit lighter, but really pulls in that light, really grabs it. So I'm feeling that right there. And last but not least, we have the grassy plains here. Really good. The clay is gonna tie in right there. Looks like it's supposed to be there. Maybe this has been, a lot of time has gone by since this has, you know, been destroyed, and the environment has started to take control of, you know, nature started taking control of the environment again. So very cool. Let's add a couple effects on it and we'll be guys. So I'm gonna add a couple different effects. I got some options. I got over here some static grass. I got some sand. I also throw in like little rocks and everything in my sand as well. I mean, you go to a normal hobby store. I have a nice mixture of snow with some garbage in it. Snow's never clean. I want to keep it simple with this one. We have these little textured areas around here, which actually is pretty cool because it's going to give us a little bit of extra to grab onto. And so I'm going to put some grass around these areas, like it's kind of growing out of the stone. So just normal Elmer's glue, just a dab will do you. It's time to get finger painting here, guys. So put a little bit over there, a little bit there. And you guys can see I had these little stone areas, some right here and here. Now, you can use a brush to spread around your glue. Just make sure you go wash it out with some soap and warm water after you're done, because if you don't, you're gonna ruin your brush. All right, of course I have elephants upstairs. Get that all spread around there. And then I'm probably going a little heavy with it. That's okay. We're having fun. That's what it's all about. All right, looks pretty good. I'm gonna come in here in some of these areas that were kind of darkened. Might throw a little bit of that extra glue in there. Maybe in here. One cool thing about grass in nature, it really is resourceful. You know, you have a whole prairie burned down, and not very long afterwards, grass will pop back up in those areas. And as you guys know, it'll get between stone and your sidewalk and all that other stuff. So just want to spread it around. Okay. Then I got a little plastic bin. Now you can get really fancy with the grass in regards to different static electric machines that you can put your stuff on. You know, you are supposed to flick the bottom. There's other people do some other crazy stuff to make it stand on edge a little bit more. You know, whatever floats your boat. But I mean, you guys can just see just with what I got going on there. I think that's it. Yep, there's some spots down there. I think that's everywhere. All right, so what I do is, once you get on there, is take it. It's not going to stand up that great the first time. I go just rinse and repeat that same thing. I don't press down on it at all. Some people like flock better. I actually remember when the static grass came out to the market. Yeah, everybody was like, "Oh, this is so awesome." And there's probably some good tutorials out there to get the best effects out of your grass. This has got a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red in there. And the cool thing too, if any of this lays down any cracks or there's some dampness in the paint, that's all right. It'll stick to it. That'll be good. So it's looking pretty good. If you can see glue in there, throw some more on there. Theoretically, I could probably take this on the carpet and like slide it on the carpet one direction to build up a charge. Let's give that a try, see what happens. Yeah, all that did is get carpet fibers on the bottom of my model. There we have it, guys. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a solid unit. It's my good friend Uncle Skullface would say. Now you can see there's some grass in there where some of the shade wasn't quite clean enough, and we have some loose stuff. That'll come out in time. And of course, I missed. So that's just life. It's all about a messy hobby station. All right, guys, I'm pretty happy with that. Didn't take me very long. You guys have been watching for the length of this video. The only real time that we had is when we let this dry. You know, the wash gives this nice, deep, rich texture to it. You know, makes it look like stone. Like it's got, you know, some grit all in it. And of course, we're just looking at this thing from afar. If you wanted to, you can go back with the terracotta, kind of add some highlights. I might do that. Oh, there's carpet fibers on this now. I think the little bit of grass there really brings it together. Add some more pop. Add some smaller texture to it. Really happy with that. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you like that. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe to us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, all that other good stuff. And check out the podcast. We'll probably be recording a new episode here soon. But really happy with that Honored Imperium Aquilus. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.